Hello and welcome to this collective reading. I hope you're all well. My name is Dylan and it's great to have you here today. If you're new here, then welcome, and if you've been here before, then welcome back. This is a timeless reading, so you'll be finding this at exactly the right time for you to receive these messages. And if you like the way that I read, then you can find a link below to book a private reading if you'd like something a little more personal. So there's a specific message that wanted to come through in this reading, a specific question that wanted to be asked, and so I'm going to go ahead with the question, who are you really? So this is for you as a collective to find out who you are, what you're bringing forth in this lifetime, what you came through, what you came in with into this lifetime, and how you can work with that moving forwards. So let's pull the first card and see what we have. Two of Arrows in Justice. Okay, so there's definitely some kind of confusion around this, I feel. It's as though I just had this feeling of like two paths merging together, but somehow it's quite difficult to actually see how they fit. So you may feel that you've been living almost parallel lifetimes within this lifetime. You may feel that you have a kind of magical self, let's say, and then you have a mundane everyday self, and there's some kind of imbalance there. I'm just picking up on the scales here. Even though they're balanced within this card, I'm actually feeling that there's been an imbalance for a long time, where maybe you've not been able to show who you really are, possibly through fear, maybe through things that have happened in the past, maybe traumatic events that put you off stepping forward as your true self. Maybe influences from past lifetimes where you may have faced persecution, for example. There could be many different reasons for you not bringing this magical self forwards, but this is essentially who you are. That's what I'm picking up on. We'll get some more cards for that in a second, but there's something around needing to bring balance into your life, needing to bring balance to yourself, allowing yourself to be you fully. Now in this deck, the title of the card for the Two of Arrows is Injustice. So as I said, there could be some level of persecution that's been experienced here, maybe in past lifetimes, maybe something's happened that's put you off stepping forwards as who you really are. And actually it's almost as though you're keeping yourself blindfolded through a perceived need for safety, needing to feel as though you are safe in the world, that you're not going to be persecuted this time around. And maybe you've experienced some of this in this lifetime as well, where you've had difficulties with people misunderstanding you, or maybe ridiculing you, mocking you for what you believe in or how you behaved. Maybe as a child some of the things you were passionate about just weren't cool. But there is a really strong energy here that something needs to be brought into balance. You may be working through some karma in this lifetime as well, something you've carried in from another lifetime where you've had difficulties with your gifts. Maybe they've caused you some kind of strife. Maybe you've used them in a way that didn't feel, when you look back on it now, doesn't feel like it's in integrity. Maybe there's been an abuse of power in some sense. And so what you've played out in this lifetime is actually your way of, I just had the word retribution, so that's your way of redressing that balance, bringing these scales into balance after something that's happened previously way back. But I just heard the words, now you're walking the path of peace, so that's interesting. We've got the two arrows crossed here, and obviously they're not being fired anywhere, they're being held onto. And we've also got the bow, which is underneath the woman's foot. And so I feel like you're walking a path of peace now, and that you don't have to worry about misusing these powers or these gifts if you were to step into your full capacity in terms of what you can do, in terms of what you can bring forth. So that's really interesting. So you're definitely a very magical person, a very tuned in person. You are someone who has a great interest in magic, maybe in the occult, maybe in esoteric philosophies, and all of these things you could have been digging around in for a long time, and now a lot of things are actually starting to push up through the surface. I'm getting like it's almost like the beanstalk in Jack and the Beanstalk. Interesting. and it's reaching up, it's going to reach up really high, so it's actually going to scoop you up on the way up and take you up to your highest level, but you have to allow that to happen. So if there's anything that's blocking you in terms of fears around being your true self, then they need to be uncovered, discovered, shifted, moved, cleansed, healed, released, so that you can actually move on to this next level. I just had a sense then of having fire in the palm of your hand, so there's a lot of energy coming through that you could work with, potential energy, but there's definitely some kind of block there, almost as though something within you doesn't want you to know who you are. And interesting. Yeah, let's just get some more cards and see what else comes through for that. Interesting. So we've got the Archer. I was just talking about not using these powers, not using these gifts as a weapon and walking a path of peace. But I'm getting some balance here because we've got the two dogs, and they're just kind of balancing out the picture in this card. They're either side of the woman with the bow and the arrow. So if you do focus fully and stay in balance, then you can actually use this energy for good, and it will propel you forwards. It will propel you into something very positive. This is the Chariot card in the traditional tarot, and I'm just getting this kind of trundling along. It's like way back when they had like big heavy chariots, let's say, maybe thousands of years ago. I don't know, it's something about being pulled very slowly, and there's quite a heavy weight to it. So I don't get a sense of like rushing ahead into anything. I feel like this is a slow and steady thing, but you need to be slow and steady so that you can maintain focus. I feel if you go rushing off trying to discover too many things at once, it could actually knock you off balance, and that's not going to help anybody. Being able to stay centered is very important at the moment, and all of the time actually. So let's get another card around who you are at your core. Who are you really? What wants to come through? What wants to be seen, acknowledged, and allowed to grow for you in this lifetime? Okay, we've got Seven of Pentacles, and we've got the Hierophant. Brilliant. Okay, exactly that. There's something coming through here that's very shamanic, druidic, priest-like or priestess-like. There's some ancient wisdom that wants to come through, and this is you as that person stepping into that role, and that is what is going to happen if you allow it to happen. So looking at this card as well, you know, there's a lot of potential here. We've got a pregnant woman sitting here. The Seven of Pentacles is very much about patience. It's very much about watching things grow. And so I feel like that's what you're doing. You're watching yourself grow. And I will say to take a step back and just see how far you've come actually, even just recently, how much you've discovered about yourself. And there's something here around magic, around healing, around teaching, around mentorship, stepping into a role of caretaking as well, I just heard. And so this slow and steady energy I was talking about with the Chariot there, with the Archer, makes perfect sense when we come to this card, because there is something growing within you. There's something brewing is what I want to say, and I'm almost seeing this big cauldron that's being stirred, and there's all of this potential in the void, and it wants to come through, be expressed through you. If you look at the Druid in this card, he's actually, it looks as though he could be teaching, you know, he's very wise, he carries a lot of wisdom, and he's learned this through life experience. You can see that he's older, he's an older man, he's got grey or white hair, and he's learned things over time that he can pass on to other people. I just heard the words cradle to the grave, so that's interesting because we've got the baby here, and then we've got the older man, the elderly man. From the cradle to the grave, you are who you are. You are exactly who you came here to be, and you are right on time with what you're doing at the moment. Sometimes we can start to feel frustrated if we feel that we're not growing fast enough, if we feel that we're not moving forwards quickly enough, if we feel that we're not learning the lessons quickly enough. Sometimes we have to go around and around on the same lesson over and over again, and that can be frustrating, but I'm getting the message here that all is in its right time, and actually we're not going to rush a baby to be fully formed at, say, 3 weeks into a pregnancy. We're going to rush the baby to be fully formed even within 5 months of the pregnancy. It's a full term, It's something that we have to see through till the end, and I'm getting again cradle to the grave. So this isn't something that we've just picked up as a flight of fancy along the way. Oh, I'm just going to do this thing. It's actually been with us from the day we were born, and the only thing that's different about that is, yes, it's been there from the day we were born, but perhaps we didn't have an initiation of some kind that we needed. Perhaps we weren't, it very rarely happens in this day and age, because it's just not a part of many of the societies and cultures that we have now. Teenage boys or girls, for example, aren't initiated into adulthood these days in most places. They just kind of get lost somewhere along the way, or they follow a path that they think they should because that's what their mum and dad did, or that's what they're being told to do, or that's what society tells them to do. And I feel like with this cradle to the grave message, there's I can see like a timeline. It's a line running along, and then there's birth, and then there's death, and then there are these little dots in between where we learn something new about who we are. And of course it's not exactly new. We've been carrying this with us for many lifetimes probably, but we're remembering who we are. And there could be things that happened, pivotal things that happened throughout our lives that sparked something in us, and they could have been traumatic events, they could have been happy events, they could have been just moments of realization where we're out in the beauty of nature and the sun hits us in a certain way and the light hits us, and all of a sudden we have this flash of inspiration. It can happen like that. I've had a few of those moments in my own life. And there have also been times where really horrible things have happened, things that have been really difficult for me to deal with, but at the same time it was an initiation, and it was a rite of passage, and it was something that I needed to move through. So there are these little dots along this timeline that I'm seeing, these little points in time that have been leading us to a realization of who we are. And that feels like there's been a very recent discovery, that's the word I'm looking for. It's been a very recent discovery for some of us, I would say, that has actually made us think differently about maybe the way that we show up in the world, the way that we work, the way that we connect with other people, how we show up for ourselves. Maybe practices that we have changed, or the way that we've worked for a long time feels like it needs to change, but we're not quite sure how to do it yet. So I would say just keep checking in with that if that's been your experience. It will be different for everybody. But we're definitely in a space here where we can start to nurture this growth that's taking place within ourselves and appreciate and acknowledge what is actually happening, and start to see us as more of this figure that can step forwards and teach and help and support and heal, help people to heal and grow. Yeah, I just heard it's a noble cause is what just came through, so that's an interesting message. It's a noble cause to walk forwards with this kind of energy, with these kinds of gifts, and use them in a way that is balanced and that is in integrity. There are, unfortunately, quite a lot of people in the spiritual community just doing that, because not everybody's like completely living very spiritually, let's say. There are quite a lot of people, unfortunately, that aren't really walking their talk, and they are maybe putting things out, services out into the world before they really know how to do that thing, or they've been through a type of initiation, or they've worked with it for long enough. Like you can go and do a course and then you get this piece of paper and then you go out and you can heal people. I don't believe that it really works that way. I believe that these gifts mature over time. Yes, of course we can do courses, I've done courses and workshops, and we can learn that way and learn through experience in that way, but there are certain things, I would say, that are quite dangerous to be putting out into the world if we're not coming from a place of balance, integrity, and not just doing it for the money, right? Because there are, of course, some people who also do that. But without getting too far into that, just put that out there. This is more about a noble profession, a noble pursuit, a noble way of living with honour. There's a lot of honor coming through, and like I said, integrity. So we'll pull another card from this deck. Tarot of the Hidden Realm. Yeah, we're coming at this from a mature place in terms of emotions. From I'm not going to say completely healed, because none of us are completely healed. We're all on a journey. We're all kind of a work in progress, I suppose you could say. But at the same time, we've reached a level of emotional security and maturity where we can hold space for other people. And I'm just going to say here as well, another message that came through then is you are capable of holding space for others as long as you're filling your own cup and working from a place of overflowing rather than trying to give and support from an empty cup, because that's not really how it works. It doesn't work well, if at all, really. So who are you really? You're this emotionally mature and secure person who's done a hell of a lot of work on themselves, who's really gone in, really sat with your emotions. You've really worked hard, and that's a big thing, because remember that not many people are doing this work. If you look out into the world, it's a very small percentage of people who look at their own stuff, go into that place, and don't just run around projecting it onto other people. Yes, we all have our moments, but it's a big thing to be working as deeply as you are, and that is who you are. You are that depth, you are that beauty, you are that light, you are that dark, you are everything. You are the balance that the world needs. And in order to stay balanced, we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to keep checking in to see if what we're doing is in integrity, and to see if what we're doing is still in alignment with who we are, because things change. Your core imprint, your core mission, let's say, your core purpose in this lifetime won't change. So that could be to help others to heal, but the modalities that you use could change over time. So let's just pull a final card and just see if there's another message that wants to come through before we go. What do we have here? Yeah, we've got the She-Wolf. Unleash the wild within, and this is for male, female, all genders. She-Wolf, there is a wild energy within you that needs to pop out. That's the word that just came through. Needs to come out, needs to be expressed, needs to dance wildly, needs to howl at the moon, needs to sing, needs to stamp their feet, needs to drum, needs to get back into this primal energy. Because if you're feeling out of sorts, it's likely that you're holding yourself back in some way. It doesn't mean to say that we have to go down the main street of town like singing and banging drums and shouting and jumping up and down and whatever. If you want to do that, you can, if that works for you. But it can be something that we do in private if that feels good for us, to just honour ourselves and allow that to come out by ourselves to begin with, if we don't feel comfortable doing that around other people. Because very often the main person that we're hiding from is ourselves, which is kind of strange, but it happens very often that we're actually hiding these gifts from ourselves, we're hiding this wildness from ourselves. Some people won't even sing when they're alone because they're frightened of hearing their own voice, or they're frightened of someone else might hear it as well. But there's something about expression that can take place personally and privately, if that's what you need to do. If there is a group of like-minded people you can meet up with to drum and dance and stomp and sing and chant and howl, then that's great as well. In fact, community is fantastic when we can come together with like-souled people. But I do feel like, the main thing to focus on is figuring out who you are. And from this reading, what I'm picking up on, like I said, someone who is a very deeply healing and healed person. Again, not fully, we're all a work in progress, but you've done a lot of work, and it's time to honour this wild spirit within yourself and let it out, because it's a part of your medicine, it's a part of what you can offer the world, and that's very beautiful, incredibly beautiful. What a powerful message, actually. to really come back to ourselves and to know who we are and allow that to emerge over time. Yeah, I hope you all enjoy exploring that. I hope you've all enjoyed this reading, these messages. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll hopefully see you next time. And again, if you'd like a personal reading, the link's in the description box below. Much love to you all, and I'll see you all again soon.